afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. We've got the weekend preview show coming up. That's not what it says at the top of the screen. It says midweek preview, but I promise you it is the weekend preview as the EFL season really intensifies during the running. I'm your host, Alfie Burns, and joining me are my two colleagues, Chris Gallagher and Marcus Ally. Chris, how are you getting on this afternoon?
Yeah, good, thanks. And yeah, this is the business end of the season, isn't it? There's a lot of things that can happen over the next few days, and it's going to be very interesting to see what does happen in terms of promotion and relegation and the playoffs.
Absolutely. Marcus, how are you? Looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had our little taster of promotions and relegations already, so I'm sure there's going to be more this weekend. I think I'm particularly looking forward to that grudge match at the bottom of League One with Fleetwood taking on Wimbledon, but yeah, I'm sure we'll get onto that later.
Yeah, plenty to discuss. We're streaming across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter as always this afternoon. So if you're joining us and want to get involved in the discussions, get yourselves in the comments and we'll get your comments up on the show. Any score predictions as well will be greatly received. As we usually do, we'll kick things off with the Championship. We'll start with the top two then. Fulham versus Bournemouth this weekend. Fulham, of course, have been promoted and they head to Bournemouth this weekend. We'll start with Fulham. Big week for them, winning promotion back into the Premier League. They've not yet won the title, Marcus. We're expecting them to have the foot off the gas this weekend, or do you think that it'll be all focused on winning that title?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think it'd be an insight into the type of characters that they've got in the dressing room. I think it's hard to maybe make a call before we see the team news come out. In terms of how much Silva's rotating, because of course it was very emotional midweek match against Preston, and obviously Bournemouth are going to have a bit more recovery time, and they really were ruthless in their victory at Coventry City on Monday or towards the end of the bank holiday weekend. So it's a tough one to call. Fulham have the second string to take Bournemouth, in my opinion. It just depends what kind of frame of mind they are in, and I think they could go into the game knowing that they could lose it and still end up comfortably winning the title. So, it's a tricky one, to be honest. I think Silva might look to give some players opportunities that haven't had as many this season, maybe the likes of Joe Bryan at left back. But as I said, that second string could still take Bournemouth. So I'm expecting quite a close game, to be honest. Not really sure which way to swing. Maybe Fulham to edge it just with that quality in the attacking third.
Yeah, Bournemouth have been a funny one recently. They've been sort of flirting with throwing away second with some of their recent results, but they had a decent Easter weekend and they look in a good position heading into this weekend. Chris, a victory over Fulham, it's a hard ask, but if they do you think that's second all but secure?
No, I wouldn't say it's all but secure because of the fact they've got to play Forest. I think realistically Forest are the side that will be looking to get second, and obviously that game Forest know they're going to have to win that regardless, really, and that could put them close. So Bournemouth, it would be a big step if they do beat Fulham to get in that second place. But with that Forest game still on the horizon, I think it could still go on for a few more games because you would expect Forest to beat Peterborough tomorrow, and if Bournemouth do drop points, then the pressure really can start to build. So it could still be an exciting end, even if Bournemouth look in a comfortable position right now because of that fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot riding on that game for Bournemouth in particular. Let's just look below that then. The race for the playoffs. We'll start with tonight's clash between Huddersfield and Barnsley. A home win will secure Huddersfield playoff football next month. Marcus, it's been a great season for Huddersfield and they'll be favourites tonight against Barnsley, but a few injuries. Sorba Thomas, Danny Ward, Levi Colwill and Matty Pearson, obviously we've known about for a few weeks. Are the injuries a little bit of a concern, you think, for Carlos Corberán?
Yeah, definitely, because they are the really integral players in the way that Huddersfield play. We've spoken a lot about how crucial goals from set pieces have really been for the Terriers and in a lot of sort of one-goal wins really this season, and Sorba Thomas has been delivering them a lot of the time, and it's been Matty Pearson or another one of the defenders on the end of them. Of course, Naby Sarr's come into the team and got a couple of goals, so he'll be a threat in the box if they are able to replicate Thomas's quality of delivery. But against a Barnsley side, considering how strong they've been at home this season in particular, I think they should back themselves to take all 3 points. The way that Corberán's kind of shaped this team. You would expect that he's been able to get his methods across to some of the fringe players as well, so that they know their role when they are required to step into the side as well. So I don't think maybe it should affect them too much. And obviously, Barnsley haven't been great going forward all season. So even with those key losses at the back, you'd be expecting Huddersfield to be able to keep Barnsley to 0 or 1 goal, which of course will give them a great chance of kicking on to get the 3 points, and then can start planning for a playoff semi-final.
As for Barnsley then, they need to be flawless between now and the end of the season to survive. Anything less than 3 points tonight will relegate them. It's just a matter of time, really, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think they've won 6 games all season, so you're not going to expect them to go and win 4 on the bounce. So I think the fans will know they'll be playing in League One next season. I think a few of the recent losses have done that. I think the last time out against Peterborough, I know they'd have still needed a lot, but it just kind of summed it up. They did quite well at times, they create chances, but then they lose 2-0. I think they've dropped too many points. The new manager didn't have the impact that people of the club expected, and it's been a very, very disappointing season considering how well they did last in the previous campaign. And they'll be going down, whether it's tonight or next week.
Just below that then, Luton and Forest had really good Easter weekends themselves. Luton play Blackpool this weekend and Forest head to Peterborough. Nothing's a given in the Championship, but these are 2 really winnable games. Chris, do you sort of feel that Luton and Forest are a long way to securing their place in the top 6 after Easter and heading into this weekend?
Yeah, I think Luton's win at Cardiff was really important because it was a game where they didn't play too well. I think a lot of people who watched it said it was pretty awful, to be honest. And they did suffer a few injuries, which didn't help. But they ground out a 1-0 win, and that's what you've got to do at this stage of the season. So I think that combined with the others, quite a lot of the sides below them dropping points, it really was a pivotal game week for them. So they did take a big step, and now they'll see the chance to beat Blackpool at home, because their home form is key to their success. This is a great opportunity for them to, as you said, really put themselves in that playoff picture for the end of the season, and then they can maybe use the last 2 games to rotate to try and keep players fit and then go again when it really matters.
Yeah, the Forest versus Peterborough game is a bit of a double-edged sword, Marcus. Peterborough, of course, can be relegated. Very similar situation to Barnsley for Grant McCann's side. Are you expecting them to sort of take it a little bit deeper into the season, or do you think Forest will have too much for them?
If I'm honest, they've taken it deeper into the season than I expected already. I think Grant McCann deserves some credit, and he's definitely taking them down in much better shape than looked to be the case under Darren Ferguson. I think Posh will be a team to watch, as they always have been in League One in recent years, next season. And despite some really impressive showings and results in recent weeks, I do think Forest will just have too much. There's too much firepower at the top of the pitch. I know Keegan Davis is out injured and might only be back for the playoffs, but with the likes of Graben to come in, Sam Surridge to come in, I think there's enough in Steve Cooper's armoury for them, particularly at the City ground where they have been so irresistible to pick up 3 points. And if Fulham beat Bournemouth, then they would be able to put a little bit of pressure back on going into the final 4 games of the season for those 2. So I think Posh can give a good account of themselves, but I expect Forest to pick up the win.
Yeah, it's sort of been the case that over the Easter weekend, Huddersfield, Luton and Forest have managed to pull themselves clear of the fight to get into the top 6. And now it feels like there's just a race to get 6th. It's currently Sheffield United sitting there, and they face Cardiff City at Bramall Lane this weekend. And Millwall are a point further adrift of that. And they play Birmingham, which is obviously a really presentable fixture this weekend. Marcus, I'll come to you again here. Gary Rowett's side, they're in with a real shout of crashing into that top 6 at just the right time of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've been impressive all season, to be honest, to stay sort of competing where they are in the league. And have been on an outstanding run of late. That back 3 is just so well drilled under Rowett. It keeps Millwall in every game. You really are hard pushed to find a match where Millwall don't really compete in it, even if they are against some of the best teams in the division. And I fully expect them to take advantage against a really poor Birmingham City side at the moment. Of course, losing 6-1 to Blackpool last time out. I expect them to put the pressure on. If Sheffield United can't beat Cardiff at home at this stage of the season, then you have to start asking some questions. To be honest, I don't really care how many attackers that they've got out. They should be winning against a side with nothing to play for, with the type of players that they've got on that team sheet. So, no, I expect Millwall to win that comfortably, maybe get a clean sheet and a couple of goals early on against, one of the poorest teams in the division at the moment who know that they will be playing Championship football next season. So, Rowett deserves so much credit. It was sort of incredible to see some people questioning his place in the dugout earlier on in the season. He's really justified how good of a Championship manager he is with a very small budget once again. And if he gets them into the playoffs, then he should definitely be amongst the candidates for manager of the season. I know there are so many, but I think he's definitely a name that deserves a mention.
And just below Sheffield United and Millwall, we've got Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Queen's Park Rangers, just 3 points outside the playoffs. Coventry a little bit way back, 4 points adrift of the playoffs. Chris, are we expecting to see any of them, start to fall away this weekend?
Yeah, well, I think we're at this stage of the season now where if you don't pick up the points, you will fall away because there is so little games left. I think Middlesbrough, perhaps the one that Sheffield United in particular will be worried about with that game in hand. I know they've been very poor in recent weeks, but we do know they have the capability to get results against anyone really. And if Wilder, maybe now that he's committed himself to the club, and maybe it was a slight distraction, that's gone. And now it's focus for these last 4 games. I think they're a real threat, but it's going to be tough for them at Swansea. And with the other sides, Blackburn, you can't really believe that they're still in the race, given how poor their form's been for quite a long time now. So, but it just takes one win to turn it around. But we're at the stage now where you could argue it's win or bust for a few of those this weekend, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting by the time Blackburn play Preston on Monday night. Everybody else will have played and they'll know exactly what they need to do. So odds play for in the race for the top 6 in the Championship. Top of League One. Next then, and we'll start with the league leaders, Wigan. They're on the cusp of promotion, despite not winning their last 3 games. They've got Plymouth at the DW Stadium this weekend. Marcus, firstly, can they get back to winning ways, and secondly, take that final step back into the Championship?
I think it'll be a tough one, actually. I can see this one being quite a low-scoring game. I think Wigan are in the position that they are because of how strong their defence has been this season. A lot of 1-goal victories. But across a 43-game sample size, they have proven that they are the toughest team to play against in the division. Argyle really need to pick up something at the DW Stadium because of the teams below them. They host MK Dons on the final game of the season as well, so you can't really bank on them picking up 3 points in that one if there is still a lot on the line for the Dons chasing down second spot. So Plymouth drew 0-0 at home to Sunderland last weekend. I can see a similar game maybe playing out. A draw's not the worst result in the world for Wigan at this stage of the season. So for me, the pressure's on Argyle to really go and pick up something, and I think that Wigan, because they've played so many games in such a short space of time. I mean, I've been saying this for a while that it's got to catch up with them, and it hasn't seemed to. But I think Plymouth do have the quality to hurt them and stay in the game for long periods. So, I don't see this one as a banker home win at all, despite Wigan being top of the league. I think it's a very tough game. And lots to play for on both sides. A match that will really have big implications on the table. So Wigan could get the win. If they do, I think it'll only be maybe a 1-0. I think Plymouth should be able to match them with so much on the line.
Yeah, elsewhere then, Rotherham with a tough game against Oxford, currently sitting 8th in the table, of course, Oxford. But MK play Morecambe, who are fighting for their lives down at the bottom of the table. Both those clubs are on 83 points as the table shows there. Chris, it's a real slog for automatic promotion in League One. How do you think the table's going to look come Saturday night?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? I still wouldn't rule Sheffield Wednesday out of this getting automatic promotion, because I thought Rotherham had turned the corner the way they beat Ipswich. It seemed like a classic Rotherham performance. They were up against it at times, had to dig deep, and then the score off a set like a long throw. So you thought they were back, and then they go and lose to Burton in that manner. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered there, and it's quite similar with MK Dons. Really, as soon as they got themselves into the picture, they've they've not won in 3. And I know they've had some tough games, but it does make you question the mentality of the group. So maybe Sheffield Wednesday can take advantage, because, as you said, they've got 2 very tough games this weekend. MK Dons, because of how Morecambe are playing, and since Derek Adams came back, and the fact they're fighting for points, and obviously Oxford are going for the playoffs. So that they're not the fixtures that these two wanted when you're not in great form, and it's going to be tough for them both. I know Wednesday have got a difficult game as well, but yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I wouldn't really like to call which way it's going to go, to be honest.
Let's stick with Sheffield Wednesday then, Marcus. Do you have them down as a dark horse and somebody to watch in the race for the top 2 here, or do you think that they're just going to run out of games?
I think, 4 points is a big cushion at this stage. So, yeah, I would just lean towards the fact they've got to run out of games. And I think Wickham at home is a really tough match to have at this stage of the season as well. Wednesday really grinded it out, a 1-0 win over already relegated Crewe. I think it was a Lee Gregory penalty as well. So nothing that glamorous to put them in this position in midweek. But with the form of Rotherham and I suppose MK, have slipped up in recent weeks as well, you can't write them off just yet. They do have the quality in the side. With that midfield free, you're going to be on top for large periods against anyone in this division. So, yeah, they rightly will be optimistic about their chances, but 4 points to make up in 3 games is a really huge ask. So, yeah, if they don't win tomorrow, it's probably over. So I would lean towards the fact that they'll probably run out of road.
Yeah, still a big game though, Sheffield Wednesday versus Wickham. Let's touch on the race for the playoffs then. Plymouth and Wickham with tough games, as we've mentioned. Oxford as well against Rotherham, another tough game. That means it's a pretty big opportunity for Sunderland this weekend to sort of gain the upper hand in the race for the top 6, Chris.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect weekend for them in terms of the fixtures, as you mentioned. I think they know if they get the win, they'll be in the top 6 with 2 games to play. So that's all you can ask for, really, because it means they're not relying on other teams because of the fact they're playing each other. They'll know they'll overtake one. So yeah, I think we know that Cambridge can be a threat. I think they proved that at Wigan. So it's by no means a gimme, but it's the sort of team you want. Everyone says you'd rather play a mid-table side with nothing to play for, and they're at home. So they're going to have the support there. Everyone knows the importance of this game. And yeah, you would expect Sunderland to win, but they've let the fans down in the past, haven't they? So you wouldn't get too carried away, but it's a good position for them to be in.
Down at the bottom of the table, then still plenty to play for at the foot of the League One table. We've got Crewe already down. Doncaster needed an absolute mammoth goal swing up to Gillingham to sort of survive, so they're all but down. And a big game then between AFC Wimbledon and Fleetwood this week. And Wimbledon's so long without a win in League One. Marcus, is it sort of win or bust time for Mark Bowen's side?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm right in saying that a draw could end up relegating both sides this weekend. Actually, no, I'm definitely wrong on that, just looking at the table. But if Gillingham do pick up a win, they're at Pompey, and this match ends in a draw, it's really bleak for Fleetwood, even with 2 games remaining. We talk about how Wimbledon have winless in 26, which is, shameful. I do think it's pretty remarkable that they've managed to not win a game in that run because of how well they've played, if that makes sense. Like, so many 1-goal defeats, so many conceding late equalisers to draw a game. I can't see that run continuing too much, or am I worried about it carrying on into League 2 next season? Whereas Fleetwood have 1 win from 17 as well. And that 1 win came against Crewe Alexandra, who were under David Artell at the time as well. So I would argue that Wimbledon have come closer to winning games in the last month or so than Fleetwood have, if you don't count that Crewe match, which Crewe have been playing in a league of their own for most of the season, to be honest. So I think this is a lot more closely matched than maybe the league table suggests, although Fleetwood are in a better position with the game in hand. But I think, it's a huge opportunity for Wimbledon once again. Their last 2 home games, 1-1 draws against Wickham Wanderers and Milton Keynes Dons. They're not bad results. That's not a bad team. That's not a bad performance level. Mark Bowen's really shored them up in the last few weeks. They just need to play with a little bit more freedom, which at this stage is obviously much easier said than done. But I feel like more of the pressure might be on Fleetwood in this, and that could suit Wimbledon because maybe there's a little bit more acceptance of where their fate lies. So I think there's definitely a case in my eyes to say that Wimbledon go into this one as favourites, even though obviously it's been such a shocking run since mid-December.
As Marcus sort of touched on there, Gillingham heading to Portsmouth, that's a tough fixture for them. And as we discussed earlier, MK Dons taking on Morecambe. Chris, don't want to put you on the spot too much, but if we're saying that Crewe have obviously gone, Doncaster to join them, who are going to be the other two that go from here?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it'll stay as it is. I think Gillingham I think they've got tough games, but I think under Harris, they've been capable of nicking a result. It wouldn't surprise me, for example, if they did nick a 1-0 at Portsmouth tomorrow, given Portsmouth have got nothing to play for. Obviously, it's still a tough game, as you said, but I think that the managerial appointments at Morecambe and Gillingham have just given them the edge, and I think they'll just get over the line, but it wouldn't surprise me again if it went to the last day and even late on in the last game, so it should be certainly worth watching.
Top of League Two then, and we'll start with the league leaders as we have done previously. Forest Green, Rovers, they're getting there now in terms of promotion, and they've got a tough fixture there this weekend against Bristol Rovers. We'll move away from Forest Green. I'm saying that they're nearly there. They're not quite there yet, but we're all pretty confident that they'll get there. Bristol Rovers, though, a win this weekend, Marcus, and their name is sort of firmly in the mix for automatic promotion.
Yeah, I do see them as the closest competitors to Port Vale, to be honest. I think Northampton have a really tricky game at home to inform Leyton Orient this weekend, and Mansfield, of course, falling away in recent weeks. So I think Rovers had an excellent bank holiday weekend, and Vale have got quite a tough game as well. It's just slipped my mind. At home to Walsall as well, which I don't think is completely easy given the way that they've been playing under Michael Flynn. So I do see Rovers as the closest competitor to snatch third from Vale. And I would give them the upper hand at home to Forest Green. Of course, Forest Green Rovers, that is, putting in that shocking display to lose 4-0 at Barrow on Good Friday. So that they're not that in that good shape themselves, and the cushion probably makes them subconsciously a little bit less motivated for this match, where Bristol Rovers have been chasing that carrot of breaking into the automatic promotion places for, well, the last month or so. And I'm sure if there was a table over the last sort of 20 games, how the Gas have been doing under Jerry Barton compared to Forest Green, I think Bristol Rovers will probably have the edge. So at the Memorial Ground, I fancy their chances.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if Bristol Rovers can get the win to put the pressure on the sides directly above them in the table. Exeter versus Rochdale, Port Vale versus Walsall, and Northampton versus Leyton Orient. So second, third and fourth, all against mid-table sides this weekend, Chris. Are we expecting any slip-ups that Bristol Rovers can potentially capitalise on?
Yeah, I think that, as Marcus touched on there, that Port Vale v Walsall could be quite a tricky game. I know Walsall haven't been in great form, but this kind of local game, maybe a bit of edge to it, and obviously Darryl Clark against his old club. So yeah, that does stand out as one, particularly given the manner how that Port Vale obviously losing to Bristol Rovers last week. That was a real blow for them, given the great form they'd been on, and it might take them a bit to get over that, because they would have had promotion not sealed up, but they would have taken a massive step if they'd won that game. So yeah, this will be a big test of their character and their mentality. I think they're obviously very much capable of winning it, but that does stand out as one of the tough games, because Walsall on the day could be problematic. I think we've said it quite a lot, haven't we, about League Two, that you can't really predict how it's going to go. There's not much between a lot of the teams. So I know they are in mid-table and don't have anything to play for really, but it's still a league where nothing really would surprise you. So it's going to be, I think these three promotion chasing teams are going to have to take it seriously, and I'm sure they will. They'll know it won't be easy at all.
Let's just discuss a couple more fixtures then. Barrow versus Sutton, Oldham versus Salford, Stevenage versus Tranmere. Barrow, Oldham and Stevenage, of course, as we can see, they're all fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table. Sutton, Salford and Tranmere all in the playoff chase. So 3 fixtures there that are going to impact things at both ends of the table. Marcus, are we expecting the table to stay true to itself, or like Chris has just said there, League Two so unpredictable? Can can we see one of those sort of bottom 4 sides bringing a surprise?
Yeah, it's definitely the division of the 3 EFL tiers where you could expect that the most. The standout one for me would be Stevenage against Tranmere. I can see a really low margin game there, and I think Steve Evans, his men, might be able to pick up something just to boost their survival bid even more. Barrow will win its minutes away from winning at Salford City as well in their second fixture of the Easter weekend. So it was almost an amazing sort of season-changing weekend for them. Of course, picking up the 4 points still puts them in a great position. So I don't think that's an easy match at all for Sutton. Quite a long away trip as well. And Sutton, Sutton are in a difficult position because, yes, there is an outside chance of automatic promotion, but there's also pressure on them. It's so bizarre that if they don't almost kick on towards automatic promotion, they could fall out the playoffs as well. So there's a lot of pressure on them for different reasons. And Oldham Salford, I do worry for Oldham in this match, but it is a must-win game. Absolutely that. They've got a tricky last couple as well. So Salford, I think they lost to Bristol Rovers as well over Easter, so their playoff hopes are looking a little bit slimmer. But that's a bit of a local derby as well. So that really is must win for John Sheridan's men. And I can't really see it, to be honest. I think it is looking bleak, and some of the players that Salford have, particularly at the top of the pitch, will make it really difficult. So I can definitely see Stevenage taking something off Tranmere, likewise with Barrow Sutton. I think Salford will probably be able to pick up the 3 points and revitalise their top 7 bid, with Oldham staring down the barrel at this stage, sadly.
I mean, just looking at the table there's not a right lot of green amongst those bottom 4 sides, but Oldham's last 3 games compared to Stevenage and Barrow's last 3 games, 3 defeats for them. Chris, massive pressure on their game against Salford this weekend.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think at one stage it did look as though they'd been a pretty miraculous survival, but now, to be fair, they've been playing, haven't they, Forest Green and Northampton the last 2, and Port Vale before that. So it's not like they've really thrown it away. They've had some tough fixtures and they've just come up short. So the fixture list hasn't been kind to them in that sense. And as Marcus said, when you've got Salford next with the quality they've got going forward, it will be tough. So I think they've left it too late. It is a must win, as we've touched on, and it is hard to see them doing that. And even if they do win, they're still going to be behind, and they're still played more games. So it's looking bleak for them right now.
That concludes this afternoon's weekend preview. Thanks to Chris and Marcus for joining me, and thanks to anybody that's joined us in the comments and anybody that's not commented on but has watched us through. Plenty to look forward to in the EFL this weekend, so enjoy it, and we'll speak to you again next week.